Hey, you guys, welcome to the Shay Show. My name is Shay, trying to get my head wrapped straight. This morning, we are going to hang out with Eunique Gibson Jones. I hope I'm saying her name in the correct order. Anyway, she is a creative powerhouse, you guys. She is a multimedia genius. She's developed this platform called Because of Them We Can. There she is. Oh my God, you guys. This is such a big deal for me. She's a big deal. She's a big deal. Eunique Jones flipped it because I'm sorry, Eunique. Eunique.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Just let me have
How
a
are
moment
you?
here. I'm doing so well. You are so gorgeous. It's not even funny.
Thank you. So are you. Say hi.
Oh, hey, tell me her name. I
What's
know
your
you
name?
have children.
Sage.
Hey, Sage. You're lovely, Sage. I love your hair.
Say thank you. All
I
right.
love that. People are like, she is a big deal. I know this. So Unique, you and I have not met in person. I have been stalking you on Instagram. I'm proud of it. So those of you who have a problem with it. So thank you so much for saying yes to me. But I always start my interviews by asking the person, where are you on this planet?
Where am I? I am right outside of DC in Maryland,
Okay.
on the East Coast in a good space.
Yay. Unique, when I was looking at all of the really amazing things you have done and are currently doing, it just made me want to ask you the questions of profound beginnings. What made you start Because of Them We Can?
When you talk about profound beginnings, I think about my childhood
Give it to me.
and how I was raised, how my parents brought up my sister and I. And there was a lot of affirmations in our home. Every morning, my dad told me that we were made in the image and the likeness of God, that we were beautiful, that he loved us because he didn't want the first time that we heard it to be when we went out into the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And they taught us our history. And so I think that that foundation put me in a space where I wanted everyone to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And 8 years ago, we were in a space where we were looking at the 1 year anniversary of Trayvon Martin's murder. We
Yeah.
were also celebrating the re-election of the first African-American president. And
Yep.
so there was a lot of wrestling between hope and fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to create something to refresh Black history. I have a marketing background, advertising background. That's
Yep.
my career prior to launching out on my own. And so I wanted to infuse that into some things that I was passionate about, and that's providing a counter narrative to the stereotypes in order to really amplify the good in our community. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's really what got us to creating the Because of Them We Can campaign that was
Mm-hmm.
just supposed to be for 28 days of Black History Month in 2013.
That's how it started.
Yes.
Started from you reflecting upon how you were raised,
Mm-hmm.
operating out of the space of the things that your parents poured into you. The reason why this is so important is the stuff that we're telling our kids, it matters. It makes a difference.
For sure. Like the things that we tell our kids matter, and the things that we don't tell our kids matters.
Oh,
So
elaborate, because I know exactly where you are.
well, it's a lot of times we can affirm our kids by what we say,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important to say what we mean, to say what we're thinking, but also to make sure that we protect our children,
Yeah.
and understand that our words are sharp. Our words can, I'm sure you and so many people watching, when you think back to some of the beliefs that you have, or the
Mm-hmm.
insecurities that you have, or the confidence that you have, a lot of that can be connected to our childhoods and things that we heard or things that we needed to hear and no one ever said to us.
Ooh, ooh,
So what we
pause
say
on that for a
matters, but what
second.
we don't say matters just as much.
That is so powerful. What we say matter, but also what we don't say. It greatly matters. To your point, here's a little story of what that matters for me. When I was a little girl, I was 7 years old. I came to the States for the first time. I'm from the Bahamas. My mom is from Detroit. My father's from the Bahamas. That's where I was raised. And they were having a bad time in their marriage. So they sent my sister and myself to be with her sisters in Michigan. And that was the first time I heard the N-word. I didn't know what it meant, and I tried to figure it. And I finally assessed it had something to do with this. I wasn't quite sure, but I remember being teased and bullied on the playground, and I was kicked off of the monkey bars, and I hit my head up against the side of the monkey bars, and it pulled off some skin and caused me to bleed. And I ran up to the prefect on the playground. She, to me, was an older, white lady in my mind. But now as an adult, I'm like, she was probably 20 something. But then I just thought here's the adult. And I came to her and I told her what was happening. And I can imagine me being bloody in that moment. And I told her what they called me. And what she didn't say is what I remember the most. She never gave me comfort. She never tried to stop it from bleeding. She never tried to provide emotional comfort for me. All she told me was sticks and stones. Go ahead. Sticks and stones. They're just words. Wow. So it is very powerful what we say and what we don't say.
For sure. For sure.
So it started as 28 days. And you're thinking, and what did it look like for 28 days? You're just putting things on your platform, educating us about the many people who allow us to be.
Yeah,
so a little bit more.
Yeah, it was just photos. So photos alongside quotes for 28 days. So each day we release a picture on my Facebook page at the time. And just did that consistently for 28 days. And then at the end of the 28 days, decided, you know what, let's keep this going. And so I resigned from my position at my job. I forget what my title was. And it was like advertising and marketing. Might have been like director of advertising and social media or something like that. Mm-hmm. So resigned from that position and just wanted to keep it going for a year and just kept evolving it from there, like every year kept doing different things and growing it and expanding it. And so, yeah.
Were you scared? Were you scared to step out and do that? Because you just said a couple of really big things that I want people who are, at their homes and they have various jobs. You just said something big. You said, and then after 28 days, I was like, you know what? I'm leaving my job and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That's a big leap.
I don't think I was scared. I think I was more afraid of not seeing what could happen than I was. I mean, we know what happens if you stay in a job, right? Like you stay on that job. Like we know that's predictable. The path in corporate is predictable. I was more afraid of what could happen if I stayed on that path and didn't try to investigate what I had discovered, which was something that resonated in the community far beyond the confines of my home. And so I was more afraid not to jump out there than I was to stay in a space where I knew what the outcome would be, if that makes sense.
Yes. Did you tell anybody about your leap?
Talked to my husband. And then I just did it. I don't think I announced it on social. I think I just, kept it going. And I think when I did interviews, I told people, hey, I quit my job, but, I wasn't super confident because there wasn't a clear path or a blueprint that I was following. So I wasn't as confident, but I had enough faith to just, feel it out. And it was scary in a sense. Scary is not the word, but it was important that I succeeded because I had a family, right? I had a husband and 2 kids and we had a mortgage and car note and insurance. And so it was important that I succeeded or that if I saw it wasn't a path forward, that I pivoted quickly to something that could sustain us. And so I wasn't scared. I was more so just determined.
So what were the early steps that, it was a path that was not well worn? This is what I really believe. I believe that anything that we ultimately are really here to do and bring to this world, the world has never seen it before in its iteration. So when you really are diving into that thing that you are born to do, there is not a well-worn path. There is not a clear framework for it. So what would you say to that person who's feeling the tug of something? Because like you said, the path of corporate life, it's very predictable. They know where they can go. They know the safety per se, although it's not really safe because any point they decide they don't want you, they could get rid of you too. So what would you say to that person who is looking at a path that they're not quite sure what it is, but they feel it calling them, but they're scared crapless because they have things like a family and a mortgage?
Yeah, I would say, keep investigating it. I think that you should date your dreams. And I think that,
Ooh.
you date it before you commit. And then once you commit, you determine the size of your commitment, right?
Yeah.
And I
Ooh,
think
I
you have
like
to
that.
take that approach versus just jumping out the window. I think
Yeah.
that the year before, I launched Because When We Can. I had a campaign that was the I Am Trayvon Martin campaign. And I had done enough in advertising and marketing to be able to identify the gap as it pertained to representation within our community and things that I felt like we needed. Say, be still, Paul. So I think you have to date your dreams. And I think you have to really just continue trying to investigate if
Mm-hmm.
what you're feeling is valid and worth the
Mm-hmm.
risk. And then I think if you determine that, I wouldn't suggest you just, hop out and keep going. Have some sort of plan. So for instance, when I quit my job, I was able to negotiate that I consult until they found the replacement, which is what secured me financially to ensure that I just wasn't out here trying to sell calendars to pay, my mortgage and my school, my children's tuition for daycare and etc. So I think you have to have some sort of plan to be responsible, right?
Good.
And to still take care of the little things that you've been entrusted with.
Yes.
But I think that if you spend too much time trying to figure out the full picture, you probably won't move as soon as you need to. And so I think that once it becomes clear that there's a path forward, you have to determine what you need to be equipped with in order to feel confident in moving in that direction.
That's powerful, Unique. That's powerful. That's exactly what I was trying to get to. I was trying to get down to the brass taxes of someone being in that precise situation. You've given me information. I'm like, ooh, I love the whole dating your dream, investigating it, figuring it out. So you're not just dating their representative, like that
Yeah.
you are seeing the thing and figuring out some sort of launching pad. So what I love, you guys, is Unique had the vision. She had the dream and she had the determination to leap out on this thing that was bigger than her, and that she didn't exactly know the exact framework, but she set herself up to the best of her ability with success. She had executed a side deal with her company that would allow her to consult, keep it going, and she knew the path. Well, she knew that there was sustainability in the pathway. She may not have known the pathway, but she knew this could work. When you first realized it could work, what'd you feel?
Um, uh, I don't know. Because I don't know if I realized it could work
Mm-hmm.
until like maybe a couple of years ago. I think I was just caught up in the grind of trying to sustain it and trying to scale it, you know, while staying sane and raising my kids. And so
Yeah.
I think that it was just working versus me realizing it could work.
Yes.
And I think that maybe, I've been an entrepreneur now for 10 years, separate from Because When We Can. But I think that I realized that it could work once I really solidified my village, maybe like in 2017, 2018. So years after I launched and was out on my own, I think I realized like the path forward to make it sustainable. I think until that time, it was just working and I was just working it. But the path, the business structure, the structure to really sustain it and to ensure that it could scale and it could live beyond me really
Yeah.
came into full view, maybe like 2018, 2019.
When when you're saying that, you're in the grind and you're figuring out uh the scalability of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're realizing who your village is.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about finding who your village is, because this goes to my initial question when I said, when you quit your job, did you tell everybody? Because my experience is when you make a big step like that based on an unction that's deep in your soul, most people are not going to understand it. Most people are going to be like, is that really what you think you should do? And that's not necessarily the voice that you need to hear in that moment. So how did you start sharing? How did you start ascertaining who your village was?
By having some really effed up people in my village.
Oh,
And
glory. I get it.
having some really hard experiences and some really hard learnings and some really hard heartbreaks and some really hard disappointments. That's how I figured out the importance of actually having a village, and the importance of making sure that the people that were surrounding me were the people who had no interest in my financial well-being because they were going to benefit from it. And so I think that there's a difference between having a team that's working with you and having a village of people who are covering you and challenging you. And I think that learning came to me through just like, being entangled with the wrong type of people, and seeing that people were more so, I was about black and brown and they were about green. And, I learned that through some really hard experiences, through losing money, by having money, people hustling me out of money. And so I think that, you gotta sit still, mama. I think that Sage,
do it, Sage.
So I work really hard during the week. So my weekends are like, my babies are all up in the mix because I'm blocked on the weekend. But so sorry, y'all.
No, that's why. Let me pause real quick. You guys, she set this time aside to speak with me, little old Shay, and this is a sacred time for her family, and I get it, sister. So you don't even know how much I appreciate this.
Cool. But yeah, so I learned because I just had some wolves that were in sheep clothing who saw my talent, saw my gift, but weren't whole in themselves and exploited me. And so I think that really taught me, like, I need a village. Like, I'd already had a village. I'm a Delta. There are a lot of people who support me, who have embraced me. But it's a difference between having a village and really curating and tapping into it.
Amen.
So in 2016, when I got pregnant with Sage, I tell people all the time, we all know what a sage does, right? They clear the space, they clear the energy. And I had Sage's name before she was born. When I first got pregnant, my husband and his mom was on her deathbed, and she wanted she wanted a granddaughter. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm having a son, but if I ever have a girl, I will name her after you because you are a wise person. And so I will name her Sage Lori. And so 8 years later, when I actually got pregnant with Sage, I was in a space where I just felt icky because the wrong people were around me. And I didn't realize that until I got pregnant and I slowed down, because busyness can be a distraction. I was so busy that I didn't have time to really assess what was happening in my life and why they were happening. I was in a space where I couldn't really pinpoint, I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was something that was interesting and something that was weird. And so when I got pregnant with her, I was able to slow down. And I was able to really listen and pay attention. And I was able to see what I needed to do. And the bulk of that was I needed to clear my space. And so I always say that Sage came and she saved me, because when she had her, she cleared my space. And the people that were around me who weren't for me were removed. And I didn't even have to really do it. And when that happened, I became very focus on curating. We curate our social media spaces, we curate our playlists, we curate our outfits, but we don't curate our communities the way that we need to. And so I started to curate my village to provide me with exactly what I needed in order to grow. And iron sharpens iron. And so I had to have iron around me. But what I really believed is that, I had to have good people around me. It's one thing to do great work, but you have to do great work and you have to be a good person. And so energy matters. And so Sage was able to really help me to slow down and to realize the importance of curating my village, to ensure that the work that I've been placed here to do could move forward without interruption and without somebody else taking advantage of what I was producing.
Oh my God. That is a word right there. I hope people are hearing that. The fact that you do, it's so imperative. Honestly, when I look at my own life, it's a beautiful challenge. This whole year has been a curating time, I think, for a lot of people. I think people who didn't even walk into the world with the wisdom that you did and that sage brought to you, and curating that space, that village that challenges you and covers you, even if they didn't know that at that time. I feel like this last year has been a year that has pushed us to understand the profundity of curating that which we keep around us and that which we hold in our energy space like nobody's business. Now, you answered a question that I was going to ask, but I still kind of want to ask it. So although sage just beautifully and spiritually helped clear out the space of those people in your village that were not for you, were there any specific steps that you took to clear out your space too from people who were no longer serving you and did not have your best interests at heart?
So I've always been I'm a Sagittarius, and we're the type of people, we're good until we're not. And so I was definitely in a space where once I realized that somebody really does not mean my best interest, mama, don't push that. Come here. Once I realized that somebody does not have my best interest at heart, or that it is not a mutually beneficial relationship, or that their presence will impede my progress because I'm focused, I'm mission minded, I can pivot very quickly once I realize it. My problem though is it used to take me a long time
to realize
figure it out, because I give people the benefit of the doubt. I believe in assuming the best. I believe in extending grace.
Me too.
But I'll also say that even the experiences that I had, you know, my OG, one of my mentors, he's like, yo, it was medicine. It tastes bad, but it actually made you better. And so I look at those things in that light too. Like, I had some really dope people around me. They just weren't whole on the inside. And when you are dealing with people who aren't whole on the inside, no matter how gifted they are, the experience in some way will eventually be jaded. And so, but for me, I can pivot when I realize that somebody's going to mess up my progress, because I'm very focused.
When you use the language pivot, I just want you to just kind of pare that down a little bit more. Do you mind?
So when I say pivot, I will cut people off. You know, like, let me just, be very clear. If there are people in my circle, in my life, in my space that don't have the energy, the character, the integrity, that's just right, I can't be around those people, and those people can't be around me. I don't believe that I don't think that everyone deserves access to you or your genius. And so that's a privilege. That is something you have to protect. Your space is sacred. Your purpose is sacred. And if there are people who lack the character, the integrity, and how they move is just counter to how you move and believe people should move, then I think you have to just disassociate yourself from them. And there are people, even though I've disassociated myself from them, I still want to see them whole. I still want to see them well. But it doesn't mean that they have to be beside me to achieve that. And it doesn't mean that it's my project to get them to that space, because again, it impedes my progress, and what I'm doing. And so
you are dropping knowledge today, sister.
It is definitely just, you got to piece people out sometimes so that they can be who they're supposed to be, and so that they can go through the experiences that are intended for them. But yeah, that's what I mean.
No, I appreciate you diving into that and saying that, just because I'm always, when I'm asking questions, I'm always thinking about that person who's sitting in their living room or in their car, and they have their phone and they're contending with some of the similar things that you're talking about, but they don't know exactly how to enact it in their lives. I'm always wanting to pare it down to the most basic level so they can hear it and have some actionable takeaways. Because until you understand what pivoting really looks like, you can kind of be stuck in that space. And a part of it too is that you recognize the brilliance and the beauty of who you are, and that it needed to be protected, right? I think when you don't recognize how amazing you are, it's easy not to protect it.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to understand your gift or to recognize your talent in your gift, but when you can connect that to your purpose, you
Yes.
can become very focused and very discriminating when it comes to who you engage with and who you don't engage with. And so for me, I always knew my talent, but I got in spaces where other people saw my value and my talent more than I did. And I didn't recognize what I really, had in my mind, and in my ability to execute. And so I think when that became clear and I was able to associate it with my purpose and just really walk in the fullness of who I am, access became quite different and village became quite different, because you have to be around iron, and iron sharpens iron. Can't be around, you can't be iron and, be hitting dull blades and expect that you're going to continue to grow and ascend and do everything that you're supposed to do. And so I think that it really comes from understanding who you are and why you're where you are and where you need to be.
Have you ever forgotten who you are?
Yeah, when I was, like I said, before I had Sage, I was in a space where I was in a business relationship that was just very toxic. And so, I tolerated too much, because I just wasn't confident in the source. Right. And so I think that we get in these spaces where we associate too much. We give people too much credit when people are really they're like, no one is the plug. You know what I mean? Like everyone is a vessel. Right?
That's right.
Like God is the plug.
That's
but
right.
Everyone else is a vessel. But when you confuse people for the plug and the ones that are making things happen for you, you give them way too much power to really orchestrate the steps of your life. And I was in that space where I had a business relationship where I had associated and given somebody else way too much power to direct my path. Yes. And I allowed and tolerated way too much because I just said, okay, this is what's required to get to where I need to go. Okay, they can talk to me like this because everybody does a bid and everybody goes through this. And this is what's that's because I had given that person way too much power. And I had basically said, like, that person's the plug. Like, this is what they say I need to do. This is where they say I need to be. This is what I need to sacrifice. And I'm going to do all of that because I'm the type of person, anyone that knows me knows, like, if you tell me the play, I'm formulaic. If you say, this is what you need to do to get X, Y, and Z. And if I trust you, I will, okay, bet I'm on it. So I was in a space where I trusted somebody who didn't deserve that type of trust and that type of power. And I looked at them as the plug when really they were just a vessel, because everything that I went through with that person and that experience has made me a better person because it worked for my good. But if I was in a space where, that person was the end all be all, then I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So shout out to Sage. So I really think that I did forget who I was because I had given somebody else too much power and I was listening to them and I wasn't listening to the source. And so if that makes sense,
it does make sense. It makes perfect sense.
And now I'm in a space where, like, that would just never happen again, but the experience was necessary because what I have my hands on now is just so much greater. And that experience was necessary for me. It's worked for my good. I don't think it's necessary for everyone. And I think that I probably would have gotten out of that experience a lot sooner had I really realized what was happening.
When and how did you start to find yourself? Like when you forget who you are.
So I had to get away from that energy.
Yes.
I had to get away from that energy and I had to really just get quiet. And I had to really just get in a space where I could find my voice again.
Amen.
And so even, simple stuff like tweeting my opinions or posting, like if you look at my feed on Instagram, you can go back to 2013 to 2016 and look from 2017 to now, and you can see a difference in how I've just asserted my voice.
Me too.
and reclaimed my power. And so I think it just came from getting away from the energy that was trying to suppress my light for their benefit, and getting to a space where I could just be still and quiet around some people who really knew me and wanted the best for me, regardless of how it would benefit them. And
Amen.
I think doing that consistently after time, I was reminded through my parents and just good people being around me of who I am. And it just, it made all the difference.
And I want to be clear to you guys, this is powerful stuff that Eunique is talking about. You are dropping, listen, everyday knowledge that people can enact in their lives. And I appreciate it. You know, I also want to say that when people though are putting that power, dampening your energy, they don't have to look like that's what they're doing, by the way, folks. They can look like they're just living their lives. But in fact, the result is that they're dampening and making your voice quiet. So I just want to encourage the people who are listening to this, don't just look and think, well, what does it look like they're doing? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to look like it's dampening. It is what in fact is happening when you are around them. That's what it's doing. That's the real deal. Just to pivot on another, I just want to ask you so many things. I just recently saw a photo of your father in a warehouse, and you took this photo of him and he's just moving these boxes and you're just like, look at this. It was clearly a photo of a moment where a lot of things have come together. What was that a photo of, Eunique?
Oh, my husband took it. It was a photo of my dad. I don't know what he was doing, standing on a ladder, taping boxes. I really don't know. But what it for me represented was like, when the training works. And so my dad was the type of father who would always say like, excuse my language, y'all, but he said, I don't care if you are a doctor. I don't care if you're an artist. I don't care if you're a woman of the street. Be the best. Yeah. Like yes. He used to say, excuse me, if you're gonna be a hoe, be the best hoe out there. Like
there you go.
He used to just, he used to just put it out there like that. And he was always telling us like, yo, you gotta like nobody can control like your production and who you are but you. Like he used to say, pretty women come a dime a dozen, but a woman with class and with some focus, right? And sometimes he was like, now that's rare. And so he was always just drop these jewels. And I know my dad was probably like a player growing up because the way he raised my sister and I, he was just preaching. He would just like drop jewels. And my mom used to be like, Butch, that's too much. And he always said that he wanted to make sure that when he left this place, we would be able to take care of ourselves with or without another And so what I was able to witness in that moment was like his plan worked, right? Like him telling me when he got my report card, no, you go, Pooh, and come right back. Okay. Thank you. Tell me to be right back. I'll be right back. Bye. Yes, go ahead. Tell me to be right back. Huh? Oh my God. I'll come get you. All right.
Oh my
God. He used to always tell me like, okay,
beautiful.
You got 3 B's and 2 A's, but those B's could be A's. Or when he came to my basketball games, he used to be like, all right, yeah, you got 13 points, but I saw you could have had 17. He would just like, he would just show me, he would be like, never get comfortable. Never become content. Be thankful for where you are, but don't get comfortable and don't be content because there's always something else you could be doing to grow and to be amongst the best. And so when I saw him in that warehouse, I'm like, damn, Dad, look,
he's doing it.
It worked.
Look at what it did work.
Like what you were saying worked. And so that's what that moment meant for me.
And 2020 was a big year also. I mean, it was a year, and I want to talk about some social, cultural things with you in a moment, but I do want to end on this with regards to those boxes. What is in Target right now, girl?
Well, it's in Target, it's in Kohl's, it's in Urban Outfitters, it's going to Myers, it's on Walmart.com, it's at Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, Hot Topic. It's the Culture Tags game that I created in end of 2019 and launched in February of 2020. So that's what he was doing with those boxes.
It's a big deal. It's a culminating a moment where a lot of many different things and feelings have come together. Also, I want to note, though, that a lot of things didn't really shift in Eunique's life until she got her voice back. That's why
True.
she's able to see this huge distinction, even in her social media presence, between 2017, 2018, and now. It's because of that voice that showed up. And I always tell everybody this, I want to keep saying it. If you're alive, two things are irrefutable. There's room for you to be who you are, and there's a need for you to be who you are. Bring your voice. We need it. This, with the culture tags, with because of them we can, we're highlighting, you are highlighting the brilliance, the struggle, the beautiful bits of being Black. This is nothing that we have just begun to be. You and I have been Black from the time we were born. Thankfully, I'm pleased with it. But I want to ask you, as someone who is Black in this world, along with me and others who are Black, what are some of the big hurts that you have felt over the last several years? And then I want to pivot into what are some things you're doing to soothe those hurts and wounds?
Hurts and wounds from as a byproduct of being Black. Hold on one second. Grant, can you shut the door? Can you help Sage? Can you shut the door? Thank you.
Yes.
You say you gotta wait, mama. Thank you. Hurts as a
yes, as a byproduct of being Black in America at this particular time. It's very specific.
It's a great question. I don't know if I know how to answer it though, because as far as hurt, you know, I am frustrated, you know, angry at times, oftentimes, with the way white supremacy shows up. And how it tries to really convince us through, you know, systems of oppression that we aren't who we know we are. But I can't say that I have been hurt because I am Black, right?
Okay.
I can't really say that. I've had, you know, I can't say that. I wouldn't be nothing else but Black. And people who try to do things to demonize me or my community because of the color of our skin, like that's on them. Like, is it effed up? Is it you know, horrible? Is it frustrating? Absolutely. But that's because of something on them, right?
That's
it
right.
Ain't got nothing to do with the fact that I'm Black, right?
Sure.
It's got everything to do with them, how they've been raised, their DNA, what they have been told to believe. Correct. It ain't got shit to do with me.
100%. I mean? No, 100%.
Fact that I'm Black, you know, or you, and the fact that you're Black, it's them, right?
True.
And so I was trying to answer this in a way because, you know,
you're making me ask the question even better. I'm gonna ask it. Yeah, keep going.
I love being Black, you know. I mean, and I know you do too, but like, I ain't hurt because I'm Black, you know.
Correct.
I ain't angry because I'm Black. I ain't mad because I'm Black. Like, Black is beautiful. I'm proud to be Black, and anybody who doesn't like it, it's on them.
It's their thing.
Because they are intimidated by what I bring to the table, by how I show up, by how I look, by how you look. It ain't got nothing to do with the fact that I'm Black, but everything to do with the fact that they aren't Black. You see what I mean? So right. So I'm like, but am I hurt and frustrated with what we go through because you have these systems of white supremacy and these systems of oppression in place? Absolutely. Am I tired of it? Absolutely. Do I wish it would stop? Absolutely. But you know, I try not to internalize it. I try to do what I can do I try to operate within my gifts to make sure that, you know, if there's a Black kid in Detroit, there's a Black kid in Columbus, Ohio, there's a Black kid, you know, in rural Maryland somewhere, or one of these cities, that they see what I'm doing, and they see the content that we're putting into the universe. They see the boxes that we're putting out. They see these games, and they understand that how people treat them has nothing to do with them, and
That's
everything
right.
to do with what they're lacking. Does that make sense?
At 100%. I learned that from Don Miguel Ruiz in The Four Agreements when I read that book in my early 20s. And it is the truth. Take nothing personal, because how people are has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Be impeccable with your words. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yep.
Know that your words can create or they can destroy. Assume nothing. Be bold to ask the questions that you are curious for. And the last one that I love is, oh, I just forgot it, y'all. Impeccable with your speech. Take nothing personal. Never assume anything. And, oh my God.
It's Saturday morning.
It's
all good.
But anyway, it's the truth. It's not personal. For me, I love what you're saying, and you just made me even want to refine my question more, because I wasn't so much thinking that there is a hurt in being Black, or there's a trauma or pain in being Black, but there are experiences that are created for us in the context of a world that is run by white supremacy that I feel impales it. Yes, the book is called The Four Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. That impales us, certainly seeks to impale us in ways that are extremely, extremely hurtful. So for me, like, even when you said, when you started because of them, we can, 28 days coming off of Trayvon Martin's murder. That was a time in my life that was so painful. I did feel stabbed. I felt stabbed in my soul, and I felt like I couldn't even really say it out loud, because of a lot of the voices that are around me were voices that were squashing my voice, and I didn't recognize it at the time, because I was more interested in lining up with what was necessary, what made white people feel comfortable, and these are things I did unconsciously, by the way. I didn't go into every room unconsciously. Sure. You know, like, okay, how am I going to make white people feel comfortable? How am I going to make white people like me? How am I going to be excellent in front of white people? But these are things that certainly guided my behavior. So what I remember is feeling like a death blow at Trayvon Martin's murder, and feeling like I had no place to say. I feel like I just received like the Macbeth death stab. Like, I feel like I'm about to die. And largely, I also want to give context. The world that I come from was a largely culturally a Christian world. And when I really look at it, a white Christian world. And so what I saw them doing was deliberating over, like, he kind of deserved it. And I just remember being like, I can't even talk about this. Well, and and even how my pain is, me being in pain is being questioned.
Yeah, I think that I totally get it, and I remember some of those same feelings. I mean, think about a couple of days ago. You know, we have the conviction of Derek or whatever his name is.
Chauvin, whatever.
Chauvin. And
I saw somebody said that's French for asshole.
Within moments, you know, we're told that a beautiful Black girl, 16 years old, is shot 4 times by the police in Ohio, and then we have to deal with people justifying.
That's my point. This is where I want to go with you.
That officer's actions, people who don't look like us and people who look like us, because for some reason, when it comes to protecting Black women, it just you know, it's easier for some to make an excuse that justifies behaviors that are, you know, implemented towards or against us. And so, you know, I'll give you an example. That situation, is it, like I said, like, is it painful? Like, absolutely. Like, does my heart ache? You know, absolutely. You know, and it's, you know, trying to watch my words.
I understand.
You know, it's super painful. You know, it's very painful, and it's depressing and disappointing. You know, I haven't publicly talked about Micaiah because it's just so heavy, you know, like, and then it's so frustrating to see Black folks sit there and say stupid things out their mouth, like, well, did you see the knife? Well, yeah, she, you know, I mean, hey, you know, what else would you do? As if police officers have not de-escalated situations where you have white people running towards them or walking around with weapons. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that one, okay? Like, you know, like, come on now. Like, what are we talking about? You know, or as if officers don't ever say freeze, or, I mean, put your hands up, or stop.
Drop
like,
it. Drop the weapon.
You know, drop your weapon. And then it's almost as if we have to understand how effed up that baby girl's background was, and the context behind why she even felt like she needed to have a knife, and why the police were called, which is now coming out, mind you. You know, but we shouldn't even need to know any of that. The fact that a police officer who has been trained could not arrive on the scene and say, drop your weapon, or put your weapon down, or freeze, is enough reason for and to know that in similar communities and instances, there have been tactics employed to de-escalate situations, but yet we aren't worth the grace, and we're not worth the extra beat, the beat in seconds that it would have taken to just do that and then act. That is, yes, infuriating, and it is frustrating. But for me, it is more frustrating to deal with Black folks who justify those types of behaviors, because we don't even understand that we embrace the hate that we've been taught by white folks and by these systems of white supremacy. And so it's like, and it's misogynistic. I mean, so many different things that you can bring into the conversation when you look at how Black women, look at what's my girl's Meg Stallion, how Black women are treated when we are harmed. Like, it is, that is problem. That to me is so infuriating. It is hard to articulate for me. And so a lot of times I stay quiet publicly because, you know, I really don't have time to debate people on the internet on things, on right and wrong, or on grace. And I really don't have time to give a pass to police officers, even though my own father was a police officer. Like, I don't care. Like, it is right and it is wrong. And that what we witnessed was so wrong that I agree. When you talk about your experience when Trayvon Martin was murdered, for me, Trayvon Martin is the spark that put me on this social justice path as it pertains to social marketing, right? Like, seeing what happened with Trayvon Martin is what caused me to pivot and to understand that it is definitely not the path for me to be in this office, you know, selling these whatever products I was selling to get someone else, you know, in a different space, when my community needed my same talent and gifts for what I'm using them for now. But absolutely, are there moments, you know, that I look at situations where we are demonized and killed and murdered because of the color of our skin? Absolutely, it's hurtful, it's infuriating. And then beyond that, it is, you know, the people within our communities. There's a I don't know if he's a council member or whatever his name is, Trayon, I think his name is Trayon White in DC, who put up a post, screenshotted that baby girl's picture, and said, I don't see the problem, or said something along the lines was, this isn't a George Floyd type of situation. Like, for us in our own community to give white supremacy a pass. And to determine when white supremacy is allowable, the acts that are deeply rooted in a white supremacist mindset in society for Black folks to actually sit and to justify it, knowing that you could be in that same predicament one day, just like that brother who posted, I don't know, a couple months ago and said something like, you know, all cops weren't bad and, you know, police officers had helped him. And then 6 months later, this brother was dead and a white cop killed him. It's like, don't think that the system is going to know your name and know your tweets and know your Facebook posts is going to protect you when you're in these streets. Like, it's not how it works. And so we have to be able to condemn every act of white supremacy, regardless of whether we see a quote unquote justification or a rationale. There is no rationale for it. And so this is why I don't publicly, you know, tweet or talk about this stuff, because it's just amazing to me when I see Black folks give white supremacy a pass because we see a justifiable reason for folks to do things that they've done all along with or without reason. You can't justify systems of oppression, and you can't justify a white supremacist system on one hand and then demonize it on another. We have to literally condemn every single act of it. Yeah, absolutely. So that baby girl, I am so upset about what happened to her. Too. And I don't think we should have to see her TikToks. I don't think we should have to see all her videos for us to sit there and understand that she was just a Black girl who deserved to live, whom a police officer should have de-escalated a situation for. And then you got foolishness, not only in our community, not only outside of our community, but in our community, Black men coming out their mouths sideways talking stupid because they see a girl with a butter knife. I remember being 10 or 11.
It was a butter knife?
I mean, we talking about a knife. I don't know. I don't even care.
Yeah, I don't
even care. Like, you know,
I couldn't watch it.
I didn't watch it. You know, I've read about it. I have not watched it. But, you know, I say all that to say, like, we can't condemn white supremacy on one hand and then excuse it on another. We have to really understand that they are all connected. That it is all a part of one system that does not care about you. And so we need to be a one band, one sound type of community. And if people outside of our community want to justify it, that's one thing, but that's what we expect. You know what I mean? If a white person says that's what she got, what she deserved, you know what? I'm not even going to get upset because I expect your ignorance to show up in that way. But when I hear a Black person say something like that and then fix their fingers to tweet or post things like that, then I got to look at you sideways, and then I got to remove all respect I ever had for you because you're sitting up here and telling me that there are instances and there are reasons to actually support a white supremacist agenda. Right. To your first of all, thank you for the mountaintop preaching. No, I am honored. I am honored that you are speaking here today with your whole chest and with your whole soul. And I, for one, am grateful and am enjoying the rain. Now, what is so important for me to say in this moment is, do you see how pervasive white supremacy is? It's not only consumed by white folks, it's consumed by us all. It's forced down all of our throats. So that's why you can have some crazy here's the thing that I've learned. Misogyny is a way that folks get non-white people to adopt a white supremacist agenda.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Do you remember the movie? Do you remember the movie Hotel Rwanda?
I don't even think I ever watched that full film, but
it's a powerful. But here's this why I'm bringing it to you. Yes, that we ingest the white supremacy, and they get us to believe the thing. Yes, 100%. In the movie Hotel Rwanda, right when it's like it's about to go crazy. There's a moment where the story is about to pivot. He is a Black man who is the manager over this very fancy hotel, and it is owned by a man in Switzerland. But he is the manager there. Well, he comes up with this idea when the rebel party is starting to, like, the rebel guys are starting to kind of come in and crouch upon the hotel. He comes up with the idea that we're going to go along business as usual to keep the calm. And he tells the people who are all Black who are working for him, because they are Rwandan as he is, do this. I need you to start you deliver the room service. You go and get the pool towels. You do this, and we're just going to pretend so that we can have an air of peace and act like we're not feeding off of their energy, their frenetic energy of fear that they're trying to impose upon us, right? Nobody wants to listen to him. This Black man has to go upstairs, get that white man who is in Switzerland to speak and tell them he is speaking on my behalf. You do what he says. I have sanctioned it. And they don't listen to the Black man until the white man tell them to. That is that same thing. That's that same spirit. That is that same spirit.
It is.
What do we do? What would you suggest? I'm just curious. I want to hear Eunique's thoughts, because it pisses the hell out of me when I hear a brother saying some crazy ass something like that too. I'm like, are you kidding me? This could be your daughter. But then it also lets me know how big the spoonfuls of white supremacy that's been forced down all of our throats. We have to fight to love ourselves in this world.
Yeah, I don't engage. Brothers like that. I know my gift, and I like to be a calm, cool, collected individual, and that's not my gift when I deal with folks who look like me, justifying
saying crazy stuff,
things like that. I think we have to keep loving on our babies. We have to keep loving on one another. There has to be a counter somewhere. And that's why it's so important when you see a Black girl. I don't care what she's wearing. I don't care how she's walking. I don't care how she's talking. What can you say to affirm her in that moment?
Lift her up.
What can you say to lift her up in that moment? I don't care if she's loud, if she's chewing gum. I don't care if she's cussing. I don't care if she's got, Daisy Dukes on. I don't care.
That's
I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Do not.
What can you say in that moment to affirm her? I don't care if you see some brothers standing on the street. I don't care if you see them with their pants sagging. I don't care if they're cursing. I don't care if they're smoking weed. I don't care if they're drinking alcohol. What can you say in that moment to affirm him and them?
Yep.
At a young age, right? Say just 4 years old. How can you pour in to somebody just off a GP? Because that they live in a world, in a society where everything that they aspire to be will be challenged. And so save your criticisms, save your judgments, save your self-righteousness, save your God says, save your Bible talk, save all of it. And in that moment, see a person for just their humanity and lift them up. And I think that is what we can all do. Right? You might not have a platform. You might not have, a big audience, but dang, you walk past somebody every single day. You see a young person every single week. Not just during Black History Month, but every single opportunity you have, which is whenever you see somebody, what can you do to lift them up and to affirm them in that moment? That's what I think we should all be focused on. And dang it, if we all focused on that, what a beautiful world this would be. I've been talking to, I'm supposed to talk to Bernice King about this initiative that I have. And she has this initiative called Be Love. I have one called, and I own this domain. I bought it 6 years ago. It's called Make Love Known.
Ooh.
Make love known. If we all focused our attention on making love known, in spite of, we would all be in a better space. But that's what I think everyone should do. And I know that you're probably coming up on time with us cutting off because we've been on for an hour. But yeah, save your Bible talk, save your God, your Allah, like all of it. Save it and show it. Nobody needs to hear that. Nobody needs to. I remember being 16 and going to a church and them saying, Eunique's skirt was a little short. Or, Eunique smelled a little like marijuana because my parents smoked. Right? Because my parents got down and,
Eunique, you're so beautiful.
That I used to wear and it absorbed
It
all
does.
those beautiful scents. You know
It's
what I'm saying?
odoriferous.
But they couldn't even focus on the fact that I was just young and in church. They had to focus on the fact that I smelled like weed. But so
Isn't that
what?
crazy? We
But so
always
what?
focus on the wrong stuff.
Yeah, so why don't we focus on
Oh,
affirming one another? Leave your self-righteousness, leave your opinions, your judgment. Like, yo, check that at the door. You see Sage, you shouldn't have to know Sage is my daughter to say, like, hey, you're smart. Hey, you're going to be somebody special one day. Hey, like, regardless, is how you see her in the street, you should be able to fix your mouth to say that to somebody every single day. That's what I hope everyone takes away from this, from my conversation before we pivot, is affirm every Black person that you know. Challenge yourself to affirm them regardless of your judgments, regardless of your own self imposed or internalized beliefs.
yeah.
How can you affirm those people?
Start with you. What I'm hearing is when I asked you this big, pervasive question that begged for an answer, what your answer is just start with you. Just start right where you are and start with love and start affirming right what's in reach of you.
Yep.
Eunique, I end my interviews with a couple of questions in the spirit of James Lipton, just some fireball questions. I would love it if I could ask you that. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise? I love the sound of my children laughing.
I love it too. What sound or noise don't you love?
I don't love when I hear a Black woman crying because somebody has been snatched from her too soon by a system that doesn't love us. Hate it.
Doesn't love us. What is your favorite word?
Fruition.
Fruition. Oh, I like that. What is your favorite curse word?
I use a lot of colorful language offline. I can't say I have a favorite. I use them all equally. I'm an equal opportunity person. Depends on the story that I'm telling,
Yes.
and who I'm talking to. So I can't say I have a favorite, but I will say that my youngest son used to say sugar honey iced tea whenever he dropped something. So that sugar honey iced tea. So that might let you know the word that I say a little too much sometimes.
Oh, I love it. What would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
I would be acting, or I would be doing what I hope to do one day. I want to be one of those professors that has like the caftan and is like, just big old afro hair lock or something.
Toni Morrison.
Teaching a course at a HBCU.
I love it. Wine or whiskey?
Oh, I'm a whiskey. I'm definitely not a wine type of person. I like me some Jameson, like me some pickleback shots with some pickle juice. That's chasing the Jameson. So yeah, I'm definitely a whiskey type of person.
Last question. If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get there?
Well done.
Eunique, you are doing it. You're leading the way. You're encouraging so many people's hearts in your environment that's right around you and in the environment that reaches well outside of you. I thank you for being who you are. I thank you for giving me time and space and sharing your soul with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for shooting your shot and sliding in my DMs.
I'm going to keep doing it.
I appreciate you. I'm going to go pivot and play with this one. Sage, say bye-bye.
Bye, Sage.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.